In this episode, I'll be sharing with you what it means to sell a house as is, plus some pros and cons of doing so. Welcome everyone to this episode of the AskJasonGelios show. I'm Jason Gelios, Michigan Realtor. I appreciate you tuning in to this episode. This is a great one because I get asked this often about, okay, I don't want to do anything to my house. Can I just sell my home as is? And so I wanted to put this into an episode. I've actually been dying to talk about this topic on the AskJasonGelios show. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So, okay, first off, what does it mean to sell a house as is? Is it a terrible thing? Does it mean the house is dilapidated? It needs thousands of dollars of work? What does it mean? So I want to share with you what it actually means. Now, selling a house as is means that a buyer will get the property how it is in its exact current condition without the seller or anybody who's in charge of the home, selling the home, without any additional repairs, upgrades, adjustments, anything. They are just selling it as is. They don't want to deal with it. And so there's a myth that if a home is being sold as is, and it's actually a stigma too, amongst buyers, because when they see as is, they automatically think negatively about the property. But there's a myth that the house needs all kinds of work. And no, that couldn't be farther from the truth, because what happens is sometimes sellers don't want to do anything. They don't want to, make repairs or upgrades or, even, adjust their price, right? They just want to say, listen, this is what the house is. We're just selling it. We don't want to deal with it. We see this often with seniors selling their home, and they don't want to deal with any repairs, or the family in charge doesn't want to deal with any repairs or upgrades. They just want to sell the home and be done with it. And so that's essentially what selling a house means as is, right? When you sell a house as is, it's just how it is right now. Don't expect to come in after your home inspection, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, and say, we want this change or that change, okay? Now, why would someone sell their house as is? I kind of touched on this in terms of why they do, but I want to give you two main reasons why people sell a house as is. First off is to save time. Many times it saves time, and it attracts that type of buyer who may be putting cash down, or somebody who is handy and they don't care. They just want to get the house. Especially if it's a seller's market, they want to get in the house and they feel confident making the repairs. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have a home inspection, that a buyer won't have a home inspection on the home. I feel everybody should get a home inspection just to have a report card of the home and a detailed report of what's going on in certain areas. But you can save time and you can save money, which is the second main reason. You could save money as a seller / homeowner or family member in charge of selling the home, because you can actually avoid making upgrades, doing repairs, fixing up anything. So you save time and money. However, I will do a side note here that even though you will save money on upgrades, repairs, updates, right? I keep saying updates, because that's probably the most common reason why people sell as is because they just haven't updated the home. But you will lose money on what you will get for the home. That's inevitable. Homes, another side note to the side note, homes that sell as is are usually priced less. That's just how it is. If it's not updated, if things aren't fixed, aren't repaired, there's issues, you're going to expect to get a lower price no matter what, okay? Even in the seller's market, by the way. So, I want to share with you another reason too why people sell as is, and that's because many professionals relocate for work. And so they literally don't have time to actually do repairs or upgrades. Many times they're already out of the home by the time they sell it because the corporation handles the relocation for them, okay? So is it a good idea to sell your house as is? Does it make sense to go through that? Should you even, stay on there as is, or whatnot? Okay, I professionally feel that you shouldn't put as is in the description, because you will inevitably turn off buyers, okay? And this falls under a con of selling as is. But I want to share with you the pros first, okay? I want to give you the good news and then the bad news after. So a pro of selling your house as is that you have fewer costs. Like I mentioned, you don't have to stage the house, you don't have to spruce up, curb appeal. It's just, hey, this is how the property is. Take it or leave it, buyers, right? Another pro is that it is faster. Like I mentioned, it saves time, saves money. It is faster. Better than waiting for repairs, right? Especially if the lender requires something to be repaired before they will move forward and provide financing. You can just put your house up for sale as is, and that's it. Faster path, boom. Although you limit the amount of buyers you can have, especially first-time buyers. And a third pro of selling your house as is that it's a smoother closing, usually. Okay, usually. Now, with pros, there are cons, like I mentioned. Here's a few cons of selling your house as is. So the first one is lower selling price, right? I mentioned this earlier, where you're gonna be saving money on repairs and updates and all that stuff. However, you're going to get a lower selling price. It's just how it is, no matter what. Another one is you're going to have fewer interested buyers. You might not get a huge crowd depending on the market anyway, but when your agent, if you're working with an agent and it states as is designation, that's a red flag to buyers. That's someone that says, ooh, as is, that there's probably something wrong. So instead of stating as is, just say, hey, maybe even have it in the description that, seller is not aware of any other issues unless they are, which has to be disclosed, by the way, any issues. Even if you're selling as is, as a seller, you have to disclose any issues that are there. You can't just say as is, can't do that, okay? But you will have fewer interested buyers. It's a given. So now you may have mortgage approval challenges and appraisal challenges. So if a buyer is financing the purchase, their lender is going to mandate an appraisal, right? If they're getting financing for the purchase, more than likely they will have to get an appraisal, unless they are putting a gigantic amount of money down, and that is a case-by-case basis, and that's based on what the lender feels and when they feel that they can actually do an appraisal waiver, okay? However, sometimes lenders, especially with first-time buyers and first-time buyer financing, okay, they will want things fixed. Like FHA will require certain things to be fixed, okay? Now, how to sell a home as is. So here's some tips. Be upfront that it's as is, yes. Okay, you might not want to have it in the description unless you just absolutely don't care, but that's the job of whomever's in charge of selling the home. If you have an agent or you're doing it yourself, okay, just state that with the buyers. Maybe have a conversation, just, hey, listen, this home is as is. We're not aware of any major issues. However, and by the way, don't lie in that area if you are aware, but just, hey, it's as is. We're just not looking to make any repairs or upgrades, okay? Second is remember property disclosures, okay? I just can't stress this enough. Be aware that selling a house does not excuse you, the seller, homeowner, from disclosing known defects. If you know the basement is leaking, you can't say as is and then not disclose that. You have to disclose that. Stating as is simply states that, hey, I'm just not doing anything to this home. You take it how it is, okay? Still keep the home clean as possible. Don't just let the home go to disarray, okay? Even if you're selling as is, make sure that you're still at least keeping up the property, because many times purchase agreements will have that. I know the ones that I use in my state of Michigan, it states in there that the homeowner has to actually keep up the property until closing, right? Or occupancy, whatever. So another one is think about how low you can go. This applies to everybody, especially if you're selling as is, but think about what your bottom line is. How much do you need to walk away with? Make sure that it's reasonable for the market that you're in, okay? And then, of course, the last one is find a real estate professional who knows how to sell a home as is. It's not just a, 1, 2, 3, it's done, right? It's a good realtor has to be able to have this conversation with the buyer's agent, or if they're bringing in the buyer, they have to have this conversation with the buyer about, hey, listen, this is what we mean by as is. And then they have to know how to actually sell it properly and not just throw it out there as is, which I've seen agents do that out there where they just say, this home is as is, seller's not doing anything, right? And they put that out there like that. And that's just not what you're supposed to be doing, okay? So you find a real estate professional who is experienced in selling homes as is. So selling a home as is, pretty interesting, right? Did you learn anything new, or was this like a refresher for you? I invite you to share your comments below. And by the way, follow me on social media. Those links are in the description, as well as visit my website. It's allabouttherealestate.com. I also invite you to check out my newer website for seniors that I created. It's www.servingmichiganseniors.com. Valuable information directly for seniors. So I'm Jason Gelios, Michigan Realtor, and I appreciate you watching.